Hello you wonderful people. I hope you have some tea because it's a video that is a little bit longer than my usual videos. Still, I didn't want to make two of these because it's a review and I wanted, as always, to present the painting that I've made with those paints. And it was a little bit elaborate and took longer. So I was gifted this wonderful Koh-I-Noor set actually by my partner, and as you can see it has the Koh-I-Noor watercolors that are labeled as professional. It's not their disc with the cakes that they also have. The colors all have pigment numbers. There's a little plastic tray for mixing, I assume, a brush that is pretty small actually, and a pencil that is a B pencil or 2B. When unwrapping those pens, it was a little bit difficult in the beginning because the label was glued so much to the wrapping paper, but not on every pen, so I experienced differences in the quality, I guess. The pen of white was filled to the rim and the foil paper was glued or stuck to the paint. Stuck is a better word. What I've realized then that there are air bubbles in the pens. They are kind of clear, and you can see in the corners there of the white pen, and you will see in the yellow pen too, that the pen isn't filled fully. In some other pens there was even more room left. So this is something you may want to be aware of. Some of the paints, as you can see, have an indent. It comes probably from the paint being poured in and then dry. But you don't have these kind of differences in other brands. The blue had many bubbles, as did other paints too. And as you can see, the pens are kind of deformed. They are smaller in size than the usual full pens. They're not as broad and not as wide, but the pens of the Koh-I-Noor brand are a little bit higher. In comparison to the White Nights pens, they are also just a tiny bit smaller, but a little bit higher, like 1 millimeter maybe. Hi, there's something I realized during the editing of the voiceover, that in the pens there's a label underneath that says St. Petersburg in Russian in Cyrillic letters, and has the same logo as the White Nights paints. So I assume that maybe the paints, but I'm not sure, at least the pens somehow are connected to Nevskaya Palitra, the company that makes the White Night paints too. But I don't know what the connection is. There was only this logo, but the letters underneath were not the English ones, as in the White Nights, where it says in English letters St. Petersburg, but in the Cyrillic ones, St. Petersburg. So now you've heard me speaking a little bit of Russian too. Just wanted to mention that because I was curious about that. And as you have seen, the pens look so different from the White Night pens. They are of this clear plastic, they have the thick walls and have a different size from the White Nights pens or other pens that are out there. Just wanted to mention that. Sorry for editing this in the end. Have fun with the rest of the video. Thinking about the White Night paints in comparison, because both are made in Eastern Europe. The Koh-I-Noor paints are made in Czech. The paints, I don't know, the pens aren't fully filled as the White Night paints are. but still there's a big amount of paint in the pans. You can see me swatching out the colors now. The colors in the set are zinc white, brilliant yellow, lemon yellow, yellow ochre, cadmium red light, vermilion red dark, meadow lake light, carmine red, Persian orange, English red, natural sienna, burnt umber, sepia black, raw umber, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, indigo blue, brilliant violet, emerald green dark, grass green, yellow green, hookah's green, and neutral black. The zinc white was the only color that had this environment sticker that you need to be cautious. Also, I wanted to talk about the pigment numbers in this set, because the lemon yellow, or the color that is labeled as lemon yellow, is actually a PY1 pigment and is known better than as the Hansa yellow, in comparison to a color that you would expect a lemon yellow to be. This is more of a neutral, even maybe a warm yellow instead of a cool yellow. Then there is the natural sienna, which was a drama all on itself, because the natural sienna was a color that was incredibly difficult to re-wet. It looked almost water resistant in the pan, and I've shown it a little bit in the video. There's actually footage of me trying to poke it with a metal knitting needle, and the color was so hard that it just wouldn't, there weren't any indents even in the paint. Then we have discussed it on Eve's Discord, actually, this miraculous pan of water resistant paint. Then I had the tip to poke it with a sewing needle, which I did, and then soak it in water, which actually helped a little, because I couldn't scrape off this top layer actually with anything that I tried before, but poking it and then soaking it with water, that's when the color re-wetted a tiny bit, and that's when the true color came to, well, was visible. All the other pans had no issues being re-wetted, and I assume, as in many Eastern European paints, and I'm not sure, I have not researched the binder yet, but I assume they contain honey in them. What was visible too in the water is that there is some kind of additives added to the paint. It's not a lot, because you can't see it on the paper. They don't appear chalky on the paper, but you can see it in the water when washing out the brush. Just so you know, it's not bad, but it's something you might want to be aware of if you want to avoid that. So then I started painting on Lanaquarelle paper by Hahnemühle, and it's a frog painting that I wanted to make because, I don't know, I felt like painting frogs. And there you can see how the colors behave on paper. First, a little bit about the set. The color selection is very interesting. It has the white, which is okay, I guess, 3 yellows, 1 orange, 5 reds, 4 neutrals or 5 neutrals, 4 blue. The brilliant violet is a dioxide purple, and 4 greens. Of all of these colors, 17 are single pigment, which is nice to have. As you know, some colors are not, like the neutral black is a mix of 3 pigments, which is not unusual. And I know there are pigment purists out there who want only single pigment colors, that's okay, you can have that, but even colors with several pigments do not make the color or paint worse. So the colors are actually very bright, but they dry down or dry back a little when painted on the paper, which you could have seen in the painting that I needed several layers, which is not unusual either because many paints do that. The water gets dried up and the colors dull down a little bit. With a thicker layer you probably can get more vibrant colors, but I choose not to do that. The paints granulate really nice. I've did that or I've seen that in the background, and it's a very beautiful granulation, which means that the pigments are probably not molded down as much as in other brands. Which means that the pigments are not molded down as much as in other brands, which is something that some people prefer and others do not. So it's just a thing of personal preference, but I wanted to mention it in the review. All in all, the paints were actually nice to paint with. I was able to layer them, but some did re-wet or lift easy, especially the greens in the background, to be honest, because I had a second layer on the background, and that's when I realized that the paints would re-wet and lift very easily even on the paper. It's something you might to consider, because I know lifting is not a technique that everyone uses. I don't use it as often, but it's nice to know what your papers do or do not if you paint in layers. Other than that, I was able to layer them beautifully, and I think they behaved I was able to adjust my painting techniques well to the properties of this paint. So, sorry, that's a long video today. So, I enjoyed them a lot. I've painted this frog in one day, but several sittings, because I had to let the layers dry back first. I did not use any drying things or ventilators or fans or hair dryers or anything, because I don't like that on my paintings. So this is something you might consider. I will test this paint for light fastness, because not all of them have a great light fastness according to the labels. The Vermilion Red Dark, it's a PR4 and PY1 has poor light fastness, as well as the Metal Lake Red, which is a PR 187. Yeah. Oh, numbers are hard today. Both of them have poor light fastness according to the labels. The others should be fine, but I still would like to try that. I will add them to the Sun and Colors site in time. We're still working on the update, and as you may know, I was back to work for the last 2 weeks. That's why the videos are uploaded only Saturdays now. I wanted to have finished editing by Wednesday, but it just didn't work out. Sorry. So, about the Koh-I-Noor company. The paints are made in Czech, and they're actually made in Czech. It's a Czech company. It's a very old one, because I remember buying art supplies from them 15 years ago. They were good quality back then. They were considered artist quality. I have pastels or chalk pastels, which I've used several years ago. It's like vintage right now, what I've bought back then. And I also have the Watercolor Pencils. It's from the same line, Mondeluz, which is the professional line in the Koh-I-Noor range. The Watercolor Pencils work just fine. Not all of them are light fast. I think you can see them on the Sun and Colors site too if you look for them. So I was very excited to try out the watercolors itself. I did. I'm happy. I'm still a little bit bummed out by the not fully filled pans, because it's just such a weird thing to have, and also the pans that are deformed a little bit. What I did not mention earlier is that the pans have thicker walls than all the other pans that I've seen so far. What also means that there's not as much paint in the pans as in the other brands. So the tin itself, this metal box, is nice. I like it. I think I would have gone without this plastic tray inside, and especially without this weird mixing plastic tray that you can take out. If you wanted, you could technically squeeze some paints in this indents there, but I won't do that. I probably will take out the plastic tray, put some magnets at the bottom of the pans, and add some other pans in the tin. The pencil is a little bit hard for a 2B pencil. To be honest, others that I own are softer and glide nicer over the paper, which I enjoy so much more. And I'm really sorry, because when I was younger, I would draw with pencils a lot, and I'm not a pencil snob, but what I really like and what I really want to have in my pencils is that they glide smoothly over the paper surface. That's something I really enjoy. It's just the feeling that I have. I have the same feeling about brushes and paint and paper, but it's a sensory thing for me. So this pencil wasn't as nice, but it was a dark pencil. It was easy to erase. It behaved wonderfully. I just didn't have the smooth feeling of pencil and paper with this particular one. The brush was a small one, and I was a little bit confused why the brush was indeed so small when it was for such a big set, for such big pans, which are nice to paint with bigger brushes, by the way. It's not the usual tiny half pan pans. Oh, English is such a difficult language. So the brush was a little bit small, but what I realized that this brush, that it's synthetic and it doesn't hold a point as well as my other smaller brushes of the same size. It's still okay for tiny details, and in the end you will actually see me use this brush from the set for the white highlights on the frog, because I wanted to make it appear wet and shiny and wonderful, like straight out from the water and out from the lake. So you will see me paint the white little droplets on the frog with a brush that came with this set. What I wanted to add too was that the Koh-I-Noor company also have other sets of the Mondeluz watercolors, and they have the landscape set and the portrait set, and I think I remember seeing other sets too, which had a little bit small. The tints were a tiny bit smaller, and I think they came without the brush and without the pencil, but I'm not sure anymore. I've seen them on Amazon a while ago, and I thought the best solution to go is with this overall neutral set that I got. There were colors I missed in the set a lot, like a turquoise. Oh my god, how I missed turquoise in the set. Yeah. And maybe a magenta or a PV19, something like that. Because there is a pinkish red. I'm not even sure which one this is. It might even be the Meadow Lake Light, or the Carmine Red, maybe. Well, there is a pinkish red in the set, but I wish there was a magenta one and the turquoise, because how I just missed turquoise. And maybe a cool yellow, like a true cool yellow, which is actually a lemon yellow, because I like that for mixing, not necessarily to paint with. The black is nice. I've used it in the painting a lot, as you can see. I know some don't like to use black because it's flat, etc., but I used it for details. And actually, sorry, I'm being cold. Sorry guys, I had to take the phone call because yeah, my vacation was cancelled, and I'm actually very excited about that because I can start teaching digitally, and I miss my class a lot, so it makes me happy. Of course, I'll be able to take the vacation at another time, but I wanted to share that. So the Koh-I-Noors. I'm totally out of topic now. There was a little break that I've made because between the first part of the voiceover and the second part now. So all in all, the paints behaved okay, I guess. They are really granulating, mold not as fine as other brands mold their paints, but some prefer heavy granulation in their paints, so buying single pans of these might be a good solution. As you've seen, the pans have different qualities, are filled differently. Some dry back a lot and not refilled to the top. Some are full to the rim. I don't know why that is. The paints have some bubbles in them. Some have smaller bubbles, others have bigger bubbles underneath, and this natural sienna is just, I don't know. It was a fight to get this paint working. In the end, it did. The brush and the pencil, I think the set can go without them, to be honest. They're not necessary, but I assume they wanted to present a set that is ready to be used right now, like other sets add the water brushes, which I don't really care for either in the sets because I don't use them. I know others do, and I know others have great results with them. The color selection is a little bit strange because I would have loved a reddish brown in the set, and there is none. I mixed the English red with the burnt umber to have some kind of sepia, not sepia, oh sorry, burnt sienna color, because I love burnt sienna, I use it a lot. I would have used it for the frog, for the shadows. In the end, I used a little bit of sepia, the English red in mix with the burnt umber, and in the end, for the darker shadows, I even used the brilliant violet and ultramarine, I think. It's, yeah, violet is just nice to paint shadows on yellow and orange things. All in all, I'm very happy with the painting. The paints, in addition, they lift easily, most of them. You have to consider that. But in the end, I think they were okay. For the details in the end, I did not use the zinc white that came with the set, but I used a white gouache by Schminke. It's the Hahnemühle gouache, the titanium white, because I wanted really opaque, shiny droplets on the frog, and this is what I made them with. If you buy the sets, take a look at the color selection they have in this set or the other sets. I think that might be the best way to decide them. I will make some... I will do some research on the binder, etc. And then I'll put them in the database. As you have seen, I have swatched them, and they will be tested for light fastness over the next few months. And then, what do we have now? April, May, June, July, August. End of August, there will be an update how they behaved. Because I need 3 to 4 months of testing here in Germany, as you know. And I've made a rule to test all of the paints the same amount of days, at least 4 months. So that's when I can present the results. We're working still hard on the update for the database. We're adding new filters to dark mode. We are adding vegan information and the binder information to all of the colors, so I have to research that too for the brands we already have in the database. This takes so much time, and I thought I would use the vacations, the 2 weeks of vacation, to do that research, etc. But as you've heard, there's no vacation now, so I hope I can present you the update very, very soon. It will take as long as it takes. I have a full-time job. Art is what I do after work and on the weekends, during the time I'm free from work. So I'm sorry that you have to wait for that a little bit. Thanks for everyone watching these videos, and I hope you have a great time, as great as it can be during lockdown. I hope you're okay. Do something creative, do something wonderful. Have a wonderful time, and thank you for being here. Hope to see you soon. Bye.